Hey everyone, it's Hayes, and today, since it's Miraculous Monday, we will be doing an Adrianette screaming session for the recent episode Simpleman, but because we can, we're also going to kind of roast the episode a bit. So, Thomas Astruc put out a tweet saying the episode was meta, which kind of means, if you're not really sure what meta means, it means that the show is kind of referencing itself. So an example of this would be if Adrian was playing the piano in his bedroom and he ended up playing the theme tune of the show, that would be meta. So Thomas Astruc said a lot of people are just saying it's a bad episode, and by doing that they're like Roland, as they prefer to hate when they just don't understand. Like, okay, but no.
I said no.
Personally did enjoy the episode because the trailers made it clear this wasn't going to follow on directly from the plot of Wishmaker. It was going to be a fun episode before we get all the angst building up to episode 100 and the finale. But this episode wasn't deep, and it very clearly wasn't, so I don't know why he's trying to be like, oh yes, this episode was so deep, you just don't understand, you peasants. Can you imagine if he called us all peasants? It was meant to be fun. Can we not have a good time in the show anymore without it having to mean something? He goes on to say that we're reading the episode wrong, and our expectations were wrong as well, and that children are more open than the rest of the older audience who are just here for shipping. But again, like, it's fine to say that this episode was meant to be fun, and we needed something fun after Rocketeer and Wishmaker. Like, you don't have to insult the majority of the audience because this episode wasn't executed the best, which it objectively wasn't. I did like the episode, but as a professional writer myself, the overall concept could have been worked on a bit more, you know. And I do think it's a bit unfair to say a lot of people are here for the shipping in the episode, as if that isn't what the show is about. Like, when I explain the show to people when they ask what my job is, I usually tell them it's about this boy and girl who are superheroes and they're also in love with each other, but also don't realise they're in love with each other because of this identity problem. At its core, the show is about the Love Square and Hawk Daddy trying to get their Miraculouses. Like, obviously there's a bit more to it with the Miracle Box and the other Miraculouses and the Kwamis and Lila and everything else, but if we strip the show down to its bare basics, it's about the Love Square and Shadow Daddy. Like, we're here for the shipping, because that's what the show is about. Like, I sometimes get people in my comment section saying, I don't ship the Love Square, and I'm like, then how would you enjoy the show? It's what the show's about. How would you find enjoyment in this show? I like the episode before I saw this tweets. Like, we're not reading it wrong. It really wasn't meta. Thomas Astruc finishes up by saying only animators will understand, so somebody help me out. I am a writer. What are we all missing? Like, yeah, I don't get this whole thing. Like, it's okay for us to have a filler episode. Like, it's okay for us to have fun before you mentally murder us all in the finale. It's alright, bestie. And it's okay for there to be a slightly bad episode in the season. It's hard to have 26 episodes that are all of the same writing quality. Should you aim for that? Yes. Will it happen? No, probably not. I think Aidan from Cartoon Apocalypse said it best in his title for his review of Simpleman. It's a season 2 episode in season 4. This episode, with its plot, especially where Marinette is concerned, was definitely more of a season 1/season 2 episode. And speaking of which, let's talk about the Adrianette in this episode. That's what we're here for mainly. So you all know I was excited for this Adrianette scene. You all know that guilt trip boiler room scene lives rent-free in my brain. So I was hoping for some real development between them with how Marinette has been developing this season as a character. I wasn't expecting them going on a date. I mean, I always want that, but I wasn't expecting it. But I was hoping for a full conversation between them. Is that too much to ask? It was definitely an odd choice to throw all of Marinette's character development out of the window and activate her stalker mode, but apparently we're not intelligent enough to understand, besties. Like, no, I'm sorry, he's entitled to his incorrect opinion. But no, like, why show Marinette maturing so much this season if you weren't going to show it in this episode? It was just pointless. Like, fair dues, I was expecting her to be nervous around Adrian and still stutter and trip over her words. But they had much better conversations together in Guilt Trip and Mr. Pigeon 72, which were both before this episode.
That doesn't make no sense.
However, I can see the bigger purpose of this episode for her. It was to show Marinette the plan doesn't always need to be complicated. She should just tell Adrian how she feels. No big elaborate plan behind it. She should just go for it. In the season 2 finale, she kissed him on the cheek in the park. She hadn't been planning to, it was spur of the moment, and it was a wonderful moment. Her elaborate plans never work out, and as a result, the conversation in this episode didn't even make any sense.
What?
So I can get behind that, but you know, they didn't have to make her a stalker. They still could have shown the message of a plan being simple without her needing to be creepy. Like, I get we're in spoopy season right now we're in October, but they didn't need to do this. But I do feel they may be foreshadowing Marinette confessing to Adrian in the finale and him rejecting her, and I will 100% be crying in the corner, bestie, for like a solid month if that happens. I think what's going to happen is she's going to be like, okay, he's leaving Paris, I have to tell him now before it's too late, before Lila does something. There's no time for a plan, I just have to do it. And he's going to be like, you're just a friend.
It's sad. It's so sad.
However, Adrian did seem to understand what Marinette was saying in this. Good job, because I have no idea, even though he did still kind of look a bit confused. However, he was smiling during both conversations with her in the episode, so that's great. This boy doesn't even know he's in love with her, even though he is, so it's going to hurt even more when he rejects her. And, I mean, it's going to hurt me, not Marinette. Like, yeah, it'll hurt her, but I don't care about that. She's a fictional character. I care about how I will feel, and I will not be okay, besties. However, getting some healthy lady noir in this episode made up for the peak cringe Adrianette, and I thought this line from Adrian was very interesting. He says, she's always right and I'm in love. So in Rocketeer and Wishmaker we saw Adrian doubting Ladybug, but at this point Adrian has been simplified, so this shows to me that no matter what happens, at his core, Adrian will stay in love with Ladybug no matter what she's done. So I'll take that if that's the only comfort I can get from this episode. Because the rest of it is disconcerting. First of all, the photos Adrian does that we see at the end, we can't even see the Eiffel Tower in them. What was the point of shooting there if you weren't planning on having them in the background? Like, shoot this in a studio with a green screen, which is safer? Daddy aggressed. I thought you wanted to keep your son safe. So you're like, sure, do this incredibly potentially dangerous photo shoot, but I'm not so sure about sending you to school.
She needs to sort out her priorities.
And then we have Roland's Simpleman outfit. This thing is horrifying. Is it simple? Yes. Does it make me want to gouge out my eyes? Also yes. And I need my eyeballs as bargaining chips for things in the finale. Like, yeah, overall I did like Simpleman until I saw those tweets. Like, it's a sign of a good episode when the creator of the show has to tweet about it like 10 times to clarify what happened in it because no one understood. You should be able to understand it without having to tweet about it, especially when the show is made for 6 to 10-year-olds. I'd love to know what you thought about Simpleman, especially now we have those tweets, and I'll see you in the next one.